Three Brothers and the Pot of Gold from the Balkans. Once there was a rich farmer, and as he lay dying, he called for his sons to come into his room. He looked up at them and said, "My sons, I'm leaving you all my farm. And I want you to know that this is your legacy." Now the problem with this was these were the three laziest young men in the world. They never helped their father around the farm. Never. They were so lazy that they wouldn't even flirt with the girls who passed by. They would watch them from under the tree. They would invite other children to their house to play with the toys, and they wouldn't play with them themselves. They'd watch them play with the toys. They were just lazy, and they never worked on the farm. They had no desire to work on the farm. He said, "Now I know you don't want this farm, boys, but I'm telling you a secret. From the time I married your mother, every month I put one gold coin away in a jar. And then when the first of you came along, I put 2. And then I put 3, and then I put 4. And then when you were younger than you are now, young men, I buried the jar. But I'm old and I'm frail and my memory is gone, my sons. I can't remember if I buried it in the front yard, or the side yard, or the backyard, or that field that's just off to the side of the house, the 10 acres in the field. I don't remember where I buried it, my sons, but it's there, and it is a fine legacy for you." And with that, he took his final breath and died. And the 3 brothers thought, "This is horrible." They loved their father. They didn't mean to be lazy. They were just lazy by nature. And there was a fine funeral, and they got together and they put a spread out afterwards, which is what you do. And people came and they ate and they told stories about their father. And then everyone was gone and the 3 brothers were alone. The oldest said, "If we're going to survive, we better find that pot of gold." So the next day they went into the barn. And in the barn they found an exotic place called the tool room. They'd never been there before. And there were rakes and there were shovels and there were spades and all these implements of farming. And they weren't quite sure what they were used for, but they had watched their father enough times from the shade of the old oak tree that they knew that they could move dirt with it. So they grabbed some of these tools and they went out and they worked all morning in the front yard. They had dug about a ½ inch down. And the youngest brother said, "I don't think this is going to work, because if you remember when Father used to dig, he would dig several inches down. We're never going to find anything by digging that far down." So that afternoon they dug and dug and dug, and they had muscles that were sore that they had never felt before. Their hands were blistered. It was horrible. But they had dug up most of the front yard and they found nothing. They finished the next morning and they went on to the side yard and they dug deeper and deeper, and this deep, rich soil was turned over and they found nothing. They went to the backyard, which was even bigger. It took 2 days of digging in the backyard and they found nothing. And then all 3 of them looked over to the 10 acres to the side of the house and they went, "Ah." And they worked and worked. It took day after day after day, and they completely dug up the 10 acres and found nothing. And they looked around and the oldest brother said, "We did all this work. We have to do something with this work." So they went and they bought plants. They bought bushes for berries that they put in the side yard. They bought fruit trees to put in the backyard, and vegetable seeds for the front yard. And half of the side acreage they put a vineyard. The other crops in the bigger fields were already planted by their father before, and they were just starting to yield. And they started to work the land. And in a few years they had grapes that were producing excellent wine. Fruit trees giving beautiful fruit. They took their produce to the market and sold it. The wheat that they had in the bigger fields they sold to make bread at the bakeries. It was a wonderful farm. And the brothers liked working with their hands. They found they enjoyed it. And they built 2 other houses, so when they all married, they each had their own home. And they taught their children to love the land and to farm. And they bought more land, and they divided it among the families. And when they were older, when their birds were no longer black, and there were streaks of gray in their hair, the 3 men were sitting on the front porch, looking out over the fields, and the middle brother said, "Father was right. There was gold in the land." And the other 2 brothers nodded their head and said, "He was a wise man."